Everyone has overlooked this. It's heading into next season. This one key detail about one key Blues player sets him aside from the rest of the NHL, and what Doug Armstrong has done with this roster and the construction heading into next season is going to unlock the St. Louis Blues. We're going to break into these key details with this one key player and how this unlocks the St. Louis Blues and so much more later on this episode. Before we hop into that, we're trying to reach a goal of 4,000 subscribers. We want to give a huge shout out to all the Blues fans watching this. We love pumping out content for you guys, and if you haven't hit the sub button yet, make sure to go down and hit it, because we'll give you daily updates from all around the team going into next season. But with that, Darius, let's just hop straight into this today, where we did see the NHL Network put out some advanced stats for the Blues players heading in, and as you can see in the headline, Holloway's prolific in mid-range goals and shot speed. Now, this is going to be something that unlocks the Blues, and we're going to break into three players that even go further into this. But going into Dylan Holloway to start, we know the breakout season, 26 goals, 63 points, making the Edmonton Oilers kind of regret every decision they made last offseason, letting him and Broberg both walk. But I mean, Dylan Holloway has been a huge part for this team. Now, diving into this NHL report, you can see the Blues forward Dylan Holloway, 12th mid-range goals, 95th percentile at the position. Robert Thomas was 90th, and all the way down to Pius Suter, who they just got this offseason, was 90th. Now, going into this, scoring mid-range goals, getting goals close to net, this opens up the ice a bunch for a team. Now, we're going to dive into the shot speed and how he ranks up in the NHL, but what is your thoughts on Dylan Holloway? And listen, we will touch on his contract extension a little later on, but what is your thoughts overall of Dylan Holloway's first season and going into year 2 at the Blues?
Well, first of all, something that caught my eye with all these advanced analytics, first of all, is I wonder if they end up pairing Holloway, and I'm not saying it's going to be on the third line, with Suter, because obviously they're showing some really good numbers, obviously separately and individually, and Suter was on a different team with the Vancouver Canucks. But I imagine if you put them together with some of these stats and advanced analytics, they would find success together. So I do wonder about that. I don't know if that's actually going to happen. I would imagine and suspect that Holloway is going to be on the second line with Braden Shen, of course, and Kyrou, because they found some success together as well. So I just thought that was interesting. So just wanted to point that out. But Dylan Holloway, like you mentioned, bringing up his stats, had a breakout year in the NHL last year, at least in the regular season. If you watch the 2024 playoffs, he is making the Edmonton Oilers regret almost every decision they've ever made at this point. I would argue that, because absolutely absurd that they let him walk to the St. Louis Blues. But now the Blues have a real budding superstar on their hands, because we've seen that he's been able to do it in the playoffs. I think they were severely missing this player in the playoffs this year. This guy would have made a significant difference against the Winnipeg Jets if he was in the lineup and not out due to injury, and he will in the future. And I think that he's going to put together an even better season this regular season coming. He has another year of NHL experience under his belt. He's playing with a lot of confidence. Not only that, he put up points last year, but he doesn't shy away from the dirty areas, and he likes to play physically. Like you mentioned with the advanced analytics, the shot speed, the fact that he can score a lot from mid-range is very good, because that's hard to do in this league. A lot of people can score from high danger scoring chances. Of course, you have to earn those and get those, generate them. That's hard to do in the league, but if you do, it's easier to score on those than obviously mid-range or from like the point or something like that. So clearly he's got that going for him too. So that's very exciting if you're a Blues fan. So lots to like with this player heading into next year. I think he's going to take another step forward, which is crazy. Again, budding superstar in this league. And we're going to get into contract projections, all that good stuff as well. But I would imagine, with him making $2 million this year, which is just absurd, you're going to get the kiss that goodbye heading into next year, because he's going to be making, especially with the salary cap continuing to rise, a lot of money on his next deal.
And I mean, I think the biggest thing is just going into Holloway. Like you said, he's a guy that's going to throw hits, score you goals, and going into even playing with the Edmonton Oilers just 2 seasons ago, we've seen in the Stanley Cup Finals, putting up a 3-point night, limited ice time. When he gets into the playoffs, I think he's going to unlock a second tier of what he's doing. The biggest thing with Holloway is throwing hits, scoring goals, and putting up points is something he's going to consistently do for this team. But like you said, going into his shot is one of the most underrated things. Holloway had one of the hardest shots among forwards last season. Top shot speed of 97.99 miles per hour, 10th at the position, and also ranked highly in average shot speed of 61.94. Now, going into this, this is an elite company to be in. One of the hardest shots, someone that can score on all angles of the ice. And it really does open up the fact that this contract is going to come in with a lot bigger than some people expected when Holloway first joined the team. Coming off this year, 2.2 million, just under 2.3. He will be getting paid. This extension is going to cost a pretty penny. Now, Scotia Stats, shout out to them for the projections as well, have him coming in at 6 years, 8.7. With the cap going up, this is well worth it. I'd even look at the point of trying to lock him up on the 8-year before the CBA kicks in, because this will be the last chance, and the Blues are the only team eligible to offer him this. Would you go out to give Holloway a bigger deal to get him locked up? Would you look at maybe even a Robert Thomas deal, 8.1, like Kyrou, and lock him up for 7 or 8 years?
Yeah, I think when you look at this projection, the salary cap's going to go up again next year, right? We're looking at all of this summer. These players are going to want more. They're not dumb. Their agents are not dumb, so they're going to want more. So in looking at this, it would be nice to lock them up to that deal, of course. But I think you want to go as long as possible, which again, I think his agent will probably fight back against. They're probably going to want to go shorter term, like 5 or 6 years. But obviously you push for the 8th year because you can only do it until next season. This is the final season that you can do that. So you push for the 8th year. And I think that you give him $8 million, because if you do that over 8 years with the cap going up, it's going to age beautifully. Maybe even more than that. Again, listen, it depends how the season goes, really, but I would imagine he's not going to take a step back. Like, he's going to take a significant step forward. I can see this player being like a 90-point player in this league. Like, he's going to be amazing. He put up almost 70 points last year alone. And he's just going to continue to take steps forward. He's going to be given more ice time, more responsibility, all of these things moving forward. Jim Montgomery is going to get more comfortable with him, right? This is, a lot of people forget, Montgomery hasn't coached the full season or had a training camp with the St. Louis Blues yet, and he was able to do that with the team. So it's going to be exciting. All of that to say, I think you try to go as long term as possible. Give him 8 million, 8.5 if you have to, because it's going to age better. But ultimately, I do think he's going to push for like a 5 or 6 year deal, and a lot of money still going to be a lot of money, but it's going to be worth it because he's going to continue to take step forwards and have that point production, of course.
And I mean, I think the biggest thing is locking him up to this term is going to be huge. We're getting him in. If you can get him on that 8-year, 8.1, I know right now the projection of 9.4, but with the cap rising, the caps are slowly going to look better. We're going to see Robert Thomas looking like an even more elite player with a smaller cap hit when guys start getting a bigger responsibility and contracts throughout the league. You can see all the comparables on the right side. You hopefully turn out to be a better contract than Seth Jones and someone like Darnell Nurse, but that's for a different day. But the big thing with this is going back into this report, as soon as I can find it here, we can see that this is going to unlock something with the Blues. They're going to have 3 elite guys that can score mid-range and in the slot for this team. Going into Robert Thomas, where we already know the top player on this team, coming in with 81 points last year, 21 goals. If the ice continues to open up with these slot shots, with the mid-range shots, with guys around him producing better, Robert Thomas and someone like Pius Suter, who scored 25 goals with the Canucks, will do better. I mean, you're looking at Robert Thomas with 2 guys on his wing that are going to have more ice if he's sitting in the slot or in the mid-range shot. You have Holloway playing on the second line with Kyrou, and then Pius Suter coming in on the third line. What is your thoughts overall about how this just opens up the ice for the rest of the team, and having 3 guys? We've seen the success with Holloway, with Robert Thomas, but now Pius Suter being the extra guy in the third line to contribute even more.
Like you said yesterday, no pun intended, but the Swiss Army knife of the team, right? That's what he is coming into this season, because he can play on the wing if you need him to. He can play in different situations, and he's probably going to play third line center for you. So he can take on certain matchups, which would then free up, like you said, other lines, whether it's the first line or the second line with Kyrou on it, to kind of go out and do their thing, right? So I think that is going to be very interesting to watch how that plays out during the season, and how they kind of mix and match lines and what they look like heading into training camp, because things can change very quickly if things are not working, people are not gelling, the chemistry isn't there. So it's going to be interesting to see what they do with that. Again, he can play the wing. I don't think he will, and he probably shouldn't play in the top 6 for the Blues just because of the other players they have in place. But you never know how this season will go for a guy like Snuggerud, let's say. So getting more depth, and when I say depth, not just like bottom 6 depth or anything like that, just getting more depth of guys who can play in different situations, can fill in if they need to, have that experience at the NHL level. This was tidy work by Doug Armstrong this summer. I'm excited to see what Suter does with this team, taking on maybe a little bit of a different role than he had with the Vancouver Canucks, which could be nice for him as well. But we'll see what he does, probably in the third line center position. It should be fun.
And I'm excited to see what Pius Suter brings with a new look third line with him in there. Nick Bukestad's a guy that could kind of rotate between center and wing as well. But Blues fans, what is your thoughts? What is your thoughts on Dylan Holloway coming into the season? How many points do you think he puts up? Does he have a 30-goal campaign? Will he put up 80-plus points? Let us know down in the comments. And speaking of comments, we'll hop straight into comments of the day. And this was speaking on Logan Mailloux. Best thing the Blues can do with Mailloux is let him concentrate on defense, and in a year or two, let him loose on offense. And I couldn't agree with this more. We know how good offensively Mailloux is. He's going to have to get better defensively. He already throws hits. This is going to be a star in the making. He's going to run the quarterback on this team with Broberg. And listen, a Broberg video coming out tomorrow, a little hint towards that. And also just want to say I never expected to see another Newfie in here from Newfoundland, being a Blues fan. But go down and leave a comment on everything we spoke on down below. While you're down there, leave a like, subscribe, share this with your friends. We'll be back in another episode, so keep your eye out for that. But I've been your host, Mark Pye, with my co-host Darius, and take care.